Hello and welcome to episode 5 of Very Small Talk. Thank you for joining us. Today I am joined by Ben Grilli, I should say. I was thinking of Bear Grylls then. Who's one of my friends on Instagram, and you'll probably know him if you're on Instagram as Grilli Paints. So welcome, Ben.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Yeah, awesome. It's great to have you on, mate. We've been chatting about this for a little while, haven't we? And it's great that it's finally happened.
Yeah, it's
Um,
awesome. Very keen.
so it might be worth explaining to the viewers. I'm in Texas, and it's about, I don't know, 20 to 8 in the evening, but you're in Australia, and
Yeah,
it's your
yeah.
morning.
Yeah, it is morning here. Yeah, I live in South Australia, so it's just about 10 in the morning here. So not super early, but
No.
yeah, those time zones are always crazy. Yeah.
Hmm. And you would have been up anyway because you've been trying to get hold of a certain box set that everyone's talking about.
Yeah, I think there might be every single person who's in the hobby who's probably awake or staying up or
Yeah.
camping out front of a store somewhere today.
There's definitely two camps in there. There's like yeah, we're mad for it. We want to get hold of it as soon as possible. And there's like, oh gosh, not Warhammer again. There's another camp in there.
Yeah.
Like, but
Definitely. And even interesting, like I put up a question on my Instagram, like if people would or wouldn't pre-order, and actually the no's outweighed the yeses. So I guess it could just be people, different armies and stuff. I don't care about Space Marines or NIDs and stuff. So,
right,
but yeah, it was interesting to see that. Yeah, most people weren't going to pre-order.
yeah. No, well, what's the advantage of pre-ordering then? I mean, there's no cost benefit, is there?
Yeah, no, not really. I guess it's just a guarantee that you'll get it. Like we all know how bad GW is with allocations and stuff. I mean, I saw there was one Australian website that has already actually put up the pre-orders for Leviathan a bit earlier than anyone else, and gone, all
Really?
gone.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
I only oh, it's been up for 30 seconds, and I clicked on it, and I was like, oh, they're all gone.
How many copies did they have? Do you know?
I have no idea because I didn't show how many was remaining or how many they started with. It was all just gone.
Wow. Yeah, I should imagine that's going to be a
That's
common
like
story, isn't it?
everyone's complaining about like the most recent like kill team boxes in particular. I think have been really bad with allocations and stuff. So yeah, it's definitely. I mean, with something like this, you would hope that they've definitely set aside enough for like everyone to try and get one because yes, a new edition, you would hope that they want to make it accessible for the new people. So that's the big thing they were gunning for. So best of luck to everyone pre-ordering today. That's all
Yeah,
I can
right.
say.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah, good luck, everyone.
Yeah.
It's a big deal actually. This box set release, isn't it? It's a marked change in their strategy with regards to the rules as well, isn't it? 10th edition is downloadable, isn't it? The rules set and that. Have you already got those?
Looks like they're all doing that with everything. They've released heaps of free stuff already, which is great.
Hmm.
But yeah, funny enough, I mean, I haven't been in the hobby that long, so I mean, I barely even know the ninth edition rules. But hopefully now that I'm more in it, like the 10th ed rules, I can just forget all the ninth ed rules because I mean, I don't know them anyway, so I can just learn the 10th ones.
Yeah. So I think that from what I gather, and I haven't played ninth edition. In fact, I'm trying to think what edition I might have played. It's definitely a few years old now. Probably 2010 was the first and last time that I played it. I think with one of my sons. But
Yeah,
apparently the rules were getting a bit boggy, weren't there? Lots of codexes, lots of rules, and you had to be a sort of genius to work the game out and play it. So not
yeah,
necessarily
that's
that accessible.
everyone just complains about that, is what
Mm,
I've heard. So hopefully it's all much more simple with 10th. At least for myself, like I can barely remember any rules. So
yeah, yeah, that's it. It's always going back to the books and stuff. The trend seems to be to with like independent games and that to really strip out the rules. Like one page rules is a company that's doing quite well at the moment. They're generating
yeah,
games. But I think there's a lot of skirmish games as well, isn't there? You mentioned Kill Team, but there's lots of is it
mm,
Stargrave, Frostgrave, Mordheim. They've sort of a lot of these games are much easier to play and require less miniatures and stuff like that. So it's interesting that Games Workshop have thought about that and decided to try something different, because it's a massive
Fingers
turnaround.
crossed
Yeah.
with whatever they plan on doing in the future.
Mm.
To be a fly on the walls, to see what they talk about in those things. Like, hey, let's make sure we only make 1,000 copies, but we'll give 700 to the top influencers and let everyone else fight for the scraps at the bottom.
It's pretty standard stuff, that, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, is
But
what it is.
yeah, I guess they'll after the hype has
Yeah,
died a little bit, it will settle down. But at least I think most people will be able to play the game because they'll have the downloadable rules. When it's just whether they've got
that's fantastic.
the new Tyranids and the what's is it what's the Space
Marine.
Marines?
Uh,
Say again,
yeah.
sorry. What's the new?
Oh, yeah, with the Space Marines, with the new Terminators and
Yeah,
Flamer unit, Stern Guard, and
yeah.
all that stuff. So it looks really cool, but yeah.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think it's cool that they're definitely going to do like the free rules and stuff, and make it definitely updating things easier. You won't have to go buy a book and then within the week, I think of when the Votan got released. I think even before the boxes got sent out to people who pre-ordered it, they already had to like change some rules for the book because they were just too strong or something. So
Yeah.
at least if everything's digital, then when they make those quick changes and stuff, like
Hmm.
you're not like, I just spent $60 on that codex and now it's redundant. Like,
Hmm. Where they've just nerfed my army. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Yeah, that's the other
yeah,
thing, isn't it? Everyone's like spending well, not everyone, but a lot of people in the hobby, the wargaming element of it anyway,
mm,
spending a fortune on miniatures and then change of codex sort of rules or whatever, and it's like, oh my gosh.
yeah, yeah.
I did see an advert on Eric's hobby YouTube channel yesterday, where there's a company that are doing the miniature magnets for, so you can swap out your weapons just in case, so you kind of you're nerf proof because you can just chop and change what weapons you've got on your your loadout, if you like.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
great. Mad respect to all those people that magnetize their miniatures. I've barely thought about that because it's just like, oh gosh, don't want to do so much more effort, and it's like so much more like extra painting of all the bits, and then you got to store all the extra bits, and it's like,
yeah,
oh
right.
god.
Yeah, that's dedication at another level.
Yeah, but yeah, I play socially, like just with friends and
Hmm.
stuff. So, like, they don't care. Like, it can just be a space marine with a knife, and we'll say, oh yeah, that's the new rocket launcher unit. Like,
Yeah, you just got to keep track of it all. Yeah.
yeah, it's just all the tournament players that they probably focus a little bit more like that, or like the serious rule people.
Hmm.
But yeah,
Cool.
but yeah, I mostly just enjoy painting.
Hmm. Yeah, same here. I haven't played a game, like I said, since 2010. So
Mm,
I've never really been big on the game. Dungeons and Dragons, I used to play that quite a bit as a teenager. I really enjoyed that. I have like a desire to get back into that. I don't know
oh
how
yeah,
that's going to happen, but we've spoken about that before, haven't we? But
yeah,
we'll see. There's
uh,
plenty of things going on, so
yeah.
finding time to do everything is another issue.
Yeah, yeah, like probably back when I was like maybe early 20s. Like we used to have a session like once a week, and that was the best. Like every Tuesday night we'd play. Like you could actually progress a story and all that stuff. But like now, since we've gotten older and stuff, like we have a dedicated once a month Saturday that we play on. So we always get one game in at least once a month. So it scratches that itch.
Yeah, that's still pretty good. Let's be fair.
Even
That's
then,
yeah.
that can sometimes be challenging to be like, oh, let's just make sure that weekend's free.
I saw a couple of dudes playing yesterday. They were recording it live on YouTube, and they were playing. There's probably four of them playing around a table with a TV screen embedded in the table, like a monitor and stuff like that. And I thought, oh yeah, that was pretty good. But they were playing with a Foundry, online Foundry software. I can't remember I think it's Foundry, and there's a few of them out there, isn't there? Like Roll20 and stuff like that, where you can play online. and
Yeah,
you
yeah.
can connect with your headsets and stuff, and video chat and stuff like that. So that looked quite cool.
Yeah, definitely nerd stuff is becoming like so much more accessible with just online presences and whatnot.
Yeah,
It's great. Great time to be a nerd.
totally agree. Hence this little
Yeah.
conversation we're having now. So we talked about Warhammer, and this your profile is nearly 100%. It's like 99%
Oh,
Warhammer, isn't it? You know,
yeah.
the odd pleasure figure of D&D or whatever in there. But
Yeah.
yeah. So you mentioned that you've only recently been in the hobby. So just tell us a little bit about your background, please, Ben.
Yeah, well, look, as a kid, like in my town, like we had one like games workshop that was like next to a card game store, and I used to every like weekend with my dad like would go to the card store and like get my Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh cards and stuff. No idea how to play with them, but I'd want to have the booster packs and stuff just to hold them, and then I'd always look next door at this other, like what's this weird store with all these like figurines in it. Like these look awesome, but was never allowed to get any. It's too expensive. And then always growing up, like sometimes like walk past and just look in the window and go, oh yeah, that stuff still looks really cool. Like that's awesome. But then definitely got older and stuff, and then like kind of dipped and waned like my interest. But then definitely like certain games like Dawn of War. And then like some of the like Space Marine on Steam and all that, like I played all those. Like I loved playing those games, and that kind of like helped get into a bit more of like the lore aspect of it. And then you'd watch like YouTube people like talking about all the lore of the 40k universe. You're like, oh yep, this is awesome, awesome. Still too expensive. Never gonna, never gonna be able to get a box myself. And then I think yeah, throughout like my early to mid 20s, yeah, I kind of just kind of would say maybe just forgot about like Warhammer a bit. Kind of always knew it was there, but like it wasn't until yeah, I think 2021 when like during all the lockdowns and stuff with COVID and stuff, like I really started watching like my YouTube feed just popped up with a podcast of more people talking about 40k. That was the Adeptus Ridiculous guys, and they're hilarious podcast of like Warhammer lore and stuff. Like, kind of got that itch going back again. So I was like, oh yeah, you know what? Like, I'm an adult now. Like, I've got a little bit of adult money. Like, not a lot of it, but there's a little bit. um, and then yeah, I saw the Octarius like kill team box got announced, and I was like, okay, this could be a way in. Like, it comes with 2 teams, all the stuff you need to play, the rule books, everything you need. All I have to do now is convince my partner. And so I've almost like made like a PowerPoint presentation. Like, look, all I'm gonna do is buy like the one box, and then this way, then I can play it with all my friends. Like, we can take turns of using the armies. That's all I'm gonna need is one box, handful of the hobby tools, all that stuff, and then it's like doing any drug.
The
box, and I'm like,
gateway,
yeah,
the door
this
was
is a great
opened.
yeah, this is awesome. Whoa. And then probably after like I got the box, and pretty much within the month of owning the box, I had everything built, everything painted. Um, you know, like it was the
Wow.
first time I ever painted models or anything. Like I have no artistic talent in my bones until 2021. Like as a kid growing up, art, no interest. Can't draw a straight line to save my life. Um, but then like I was like, oh yeah, watched like 1,000 tutorials online first, and I was like, okay, and got the paintbrush, and I had the Krieg Sergeant with the power sword, and I was like holding the model with the paintbrush, and I was like, I guess you just have to do it. Like and I just put a brush stroke on, and I went after the first brush stroke, I went, that's an okay brush stroke. I was like, all right.
He's in.
And then from there, yeah, it was literally in instantly. Like I was just hooked. And then
So,
probably within the month,
where,
um, I just had started like looking at line, like, okay, what army do I want to get now? How do I buy more
so
bottles?
that PowerPoint just went out the window completely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, literally
So,
went. so fast.
Just help me out here then, Ben. Were you like on lockdown like the rest of us across the planet? Then were
Yeah,
you you had an excuse and you could sit there and really go for it?
yeah, I did have a little bit. It was during a period where like I'd finished uni. I think I was a year out from finishing uni, and yeah, it was during when everyone went into lockdown and stuff. So a lot of everything was pretty much remote, and yeah, and it was funny enough. It was also during the time was planning my wedding, um, and so it was a bit of a interesting topic to broach about wanting to buy like a big box when it's like all of our savings was going
Yeah,
towards
right.
the wedding.
Hmm.
But the wife was happy for me to get it after
Just
a little
just got
bit
to
of
play the well-being card, haven't you? So I need something for my
pretty much.
well-being.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And now that's like every time a box comes in the mail, it's well-being. Don't ask.
Brilliant, brilliant.
Yeah, no,
And from
definitely open anyway.
what I can see of your profile, that happens very frequently. Then, because one of the great things about yourself is that you have jumped into this hobby in a big way, and you're actually commission painting, which
Yeah, I went
you know.
pretty interesting that like I had anyone reach out and ask me like I I with my group of friends I have one friend in particular he was the one that kind of helped me get into the hobby as well like he's one of those guys that
He was your
yeah
dealer.
his name yeah he was, yeah his name's Dan hush hush like and he is one of those guys that knows every single reference to anything 40k like you would mention like an obscure character and then he would go down a rabbit hole of that character and he knew like all the factions all the rules like not a competitive player he just knows everything there under the sun about Warhammer
Right.
and it's great having him to help me
Yeah, I
like
bet.
get that done. But then through him I met some of my other now Warhammer friends and it's funny they've all like those people who have been in the hobby for years and years and years and none of them had painted armies like it was fun. And like, I within like, the first month of owning thing, I had a fully painted up box, and so it was all like they were like, "Whoa, this is really impressive" and stuff. And like my first few minis, like they're pretty much just base coats and a wash because followed the Games Workshop things. But like I was hooked. I was
Let me
like, I
just,
love the design.
Ben. I'm just gonna let the dogs out. I've got the dogs in the bedroom,
Yeah, no worries. No.
and this is the first, but they were being all whiny, and now one of them here. Come here, come here, come and see Ben. Come up here. Oh,
Love to see
she
the dog.
doesn't. She thinks she's in the wrong, but she's
Oh, look at
whining. Hey, precious, do you want me to let you out? Do you want to go outside? Yeah. They don't know. Well, she's caught up on my headphones.
that.
I'll edit that. Don't worry. I'll be back in a
No worries.
second.
You know.
Sorry about that.
No,
You know what they say? Don't work with children or animals. Well, because it's so hot here at the moment, we've just got into the hundreds, and it's still hot outside. So I thought,
yeah.
okay, if I leave them in the living room, they'll be scratching at the door, wanting to come in. So I thought I'd take a chance and bring them in, but no, they're like, oh, it's too hot here as well. Let us out.
Oh no, poor
Oh
doggos.
dear. Cool.
That's model I did. And
Wow.
I was very happy with him. And I mean,
Yeah.
again, like I look if I compare him to some of my more recent stuff, I go, oh wow, I could probably try and redo him and like make him a little bit nicer. But I kind of love having like my first like
Yeah.
this is where I was and this is where I'm at now, and like
Totally.
seeing how much growth there is, or sometimes looking and go, oh man, maybe I haven't gotten better. Yeah.
Oh no, you definitely
Oh,
have, and
so critical on themselves.
I think yeah, you're definitely right, and I think like Multi, the last show, the bus painter, he said
Mm,
exactly the same thing. His first miniature was
my God, I
Dungeons
looked
and
at his
Dragons.
Instagram. Oh my God.
Yeah,
I, oh my gosh.
but he said I'm not going to go and repaint the stuff that I've done because it charts the progress that I've made, and I thought yeah, that's brilliant because you know you can get sort of stuck, can't you? You
Mm.
can you know especially when you're looking at brilliant things on Instagram.
Oh yeah,
You
that
can
can be the most
yeah.
brutal thing to make you really question your art. Like just scrolling through and you just see those people who have have literally made like something glow, but it's just using acrylic paints, and you're just like,
Hmm.
what? What do you mean? Like that? Literally, I can see a reflection in that, but there's no reflection. Like it's all just painted on. It's like, oh my gosh! Like you can stare at those and go, nah, never gonna be able to do that. But you know what? Like that's just how it is. And unless you try it, you never will.
Nope.
But like I love having my progression of miniatures. I haven't repainted anything. You know, I even look at my main army, which is my Black Templars and stuff. And if I compare like my first Black Templar model to my latest Black Templar model, they do look completely different. But you know what? I kind of love having that
Totally.
progression
I
and that
think it's
it's okay to see like your art not being perfect. Like that's the
no.
best thing about art, I think, is that it's all subjective. So
Yeah. Yeah,
like that,
and
it's a good painted model, but like
it's
you then
and
compare it to
it's
anyone.
special for you, isn't it? You know, it's like it's you know your first full model. It was something that for years you'd been like wanting to get into,
Mhm.
and there you go. You pick up this beast of a model because it is a great model, isn't it? What a figure. Um,
Fantastic.
yeah. So first miniature, this
Yeah.
wonderful
Right.
Krieg Sergeant was it? Krieg
Yeah.
Captain.
Pretty
Yeah.
excited.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. He's great. And then
Uh, there's something about the Kriegs, isn't there? They are very, very good miniatures. You know, like that sort of I don't know, World War One, World War Two aesthetic of the
yeah.
Germans. You know,
I don't think
very-
there's any Warhammer person out there that doesn't just think the Krieg are cool. Like, I mean, if I could have a Krieg army, I totally would. It would be awesome. But yeah, there'd be so many models.
yeah. And what's the other one? Oh gosh, why can't I think what they're called? There's another outfit. Not. Oh my gosh, they begin with C as well.
The Catachin?
Say again.
The Catachin jungle guys?
No.
Are,
Oh my gosh.
like just the regular Cadians?
Cadians. There we go.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Cadians
Cadians.
also really cool. Like,
I
I
think that.
think
Yeah.
Imperial Guard are awesome. Funny enough, like as a kid, yeah, the Imperial Guards were the army that interested me the most because I thought they looked just awesome, like
Hmm.
the regular humans. And then like when I played Dawn of War, like I'd always pick Imperial Guard, and I loved all the tanks and stuff. It was so cool.
Hmm.
But like, yeah,
I
well,
agree.
that's like I would happily have every single army under the sun if I could.
Yeah. Well, we both know someone who has just about every army under the sun. You know,
Yeah,
Lawrence
tell you about
Lockie.
that guy. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. He's going to be on the show soon. We've been talking about that
Hear
as
about
well.
that.
And I spoke to him, I don't know, a month ago, maybe a little while ago, and he said he's got, I think 42, 41 or 42 armies, full
Yeah, wow.
armies. I'm like, what the heck? So he's obviously been playing the game for a long time, and
Yeah,
he's that guy. He's that guy. I think you said Dan was your guy.
yeah.
This is Lawrence's. He knows absolutely everything. He's got the
There we go.
fridge magnets, the whole lot. Like,
I
he's
think
just got the
every.
stamps as well, didn't he? Did you see that?
Oh, I did. I think I did see that.
Yeah.
I think that every Warhammer group has that one guy that can recite the entire codex from the 80s that came out. Like back in Rogue Trader. Like
Hmm.
there's one in every group.
If Games Workshop did toilet paper, he would buy it. I'm convinced of that.
Probably. And I
Yeah.
mean, you know what? I would almost be tempted myself.
Oh dear, maybe that's a thing coming. Who knows? Okay, so yeah, so we these are your first two figures that you painted, and you've also sent me your first commissions that you painted. You
Yeah. So,
orcs on
um,
squigs. You can't go far wrong with orcs on squigs, can you?
no, you can't. I love painting orcs. You can't do them wrong. Like they're the best. I think if I could give maybe one advice to like anyone who's like, oh, I want to try miniature painting, I would say paint an orc because you just can't. Like especially like a 40k orc. Like they're just ridiculous. You literally could paint them any way you want and they will look fine.
Yeah,
Like,
most
but
yeah.
yeah, it was the end of 2022 when that Goth Rocker model came out and I made I was like when I saw the model I was like, oh, you know what? Not gonna get it. Like I don't really care about it. And then I keep seeing like the model in like my news feeds and stuff like, oh, pre-order now, pre-order now. And I kept looking going, oh, it's not really my style of model. And then I kept getting these ideas in the back of my head. I was like, what if you made like a diorama or a display or something? And I was like, oh no, but I don't. Now, Ben, listen. you know, make an idea. Like you've got an idea now. And then from there, I was like, okay, fine, I'll get it. And then I made that cool. I think it was my first Instagram post. Of the goth rocker on the stage, and I got my 3D printer friend to. I found these like speaker files and stuff, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna have like these big speakers and these massive amps in the background,
Hmm.
and yeah, and then I
I,
painted that, and it was one of those because it's like such a display model. I was like, okay, I'm gonna make sure I put like a bit of effort into this. I gave it the cool like tiger stripe pants and stuff, like extra effort on the guitar, and I set it all up, and I was like, okay, this was fun, like making a diorama, like awesome. Like again, recommend that to anyone. Just like if you got an idea, just run with it. Like you can't really make it wrong. And so I posted that on like the South Australian like Warhammer store page. Lots of people like post their finished models and stuff, and I posted that, and then pretty much within the end of the day of that model being up, a guy just reached out to me. I was like, "Oh, hey, do you do commissions by chance?" And I was like, "Well, I do now. Like, what do you want me to paint?" And he sent me those. He came to my place and brought a bunch of those orcs and he was like, "Yeah, I love how you did the skin tones on your Goth Rocker," and I was like, "Yeah, that's fine. Like, I can probably reproduce that in like a similar style, but on like mass producing models and stuff." And he's like, "Yeah, but I've got these squig riders, and what? I want each of the big squigs to look different." And I was like, "Yeah, cool." Like, he was like, "I love the tiger pants you did. Like, yeah, make one of them a tiger." And he was like, "Oh, and what? Maybe I want a shark looking one as well." So like, I went like looked online like, oh, what's a great white look like? So it's got like the dark grey on the top and the more white underneath. And then I was like, oh, I'm not sure what to do with the last one. I was like, you know what? I like the color blue. I'm just gonna do a blue squig as well. And he was stoked with all of them, you know. But this is just goes to show with orc models, like you can do whatever you want,
they
and they
are
look.
they are the light relief, aren't they? The comic relief, and the
Oh,
goblins or
they are. Yeah, yeah.
any green skin is like your a bit of fun, like a bit of comedy in the grim dark future.
Yeah, and they're just a joy to paint.
Yeah,
Like they just look so stupid, but they're so beautiful at the same time.
yeah. No, they've got loads of character, loads of
Oh,
character.
dude. And like it's always fun. Like you got to have checkers on orcs and stuff. So like getting to practice how to do checkers. And the best part again with orcs is if your checkers don't match, that's just how it is. Like you can
Mm,
make them all uneven and stuff. Compared to like, I think if you're trying to do like a checker effect on a space marine or, nearly any other army, like you've almost got to try and get each square to be like, exactly one by one. Like,
yeah.
but with the orcs, like, nah, yeah. Anyone who wants to try miniature painting, just go grab an orc and just slap some paint on it.
That's the thing. Sometimes the paint can be too good, can't it? In for the orcs because they've got this For those that don't know, orcs are very ingenious. They can make anything out of anything. Any bit of junk, they can turn it into a reactor or a
Yeah.
gun or some sort of mushroom
Yeah.
device or
I
whatever.
always remember the great, like one of those like old like Warhammer stories. I don't even know if it's a true Warhammer story, but it was like an inquisitor inspecting like just a piece of metal that was bent into like an L shape, and they were like, how are they shooting people with this? Like there's no bullets, there's no trigger, there's no barrel, but we saw an orc holding it and he shot and killed someone. Like
Yeah,
just just nothing makes sense, but it's perfect.
yeah, we like that. We like that. The
Yeah.
randomness of an orc. It just adds something, doesn't it? It's just like I don't know. It's a lot of fun, and there's a lot of people that just paint orcs and
Yeah. I
goblins and
love again
what
can't
are grunts and snots and
like
I don't know what
yeah,
snotlings.
not.
Yeah,
And again, I think like every time I've seen an orc painted on Instagram, it doesn't matter like the level of like like a top tier painter and then someone who's the first time they've done it, they all look great.
yeah,
Like you just can't do it wrong. And
no,
I'd happily paint a million orcs if I could. I necessarily don't want them as an army, but as just fun models to paint up, yeah, yeah,
no. This
they're
this
just
is this is great.
yeah. And this is like still, you know, probably like early into my painting, really trying to like make things look nicer. Like obviously I started this at the start of this year, so in like 6 months ago, and like even now if I was to probably try and repaint this, I could probably do a nicer job, but that's because I've been painting almost nearly every single day for 6 months.
I know. We spoke a little while ago, and what's your kill count on miniatures for painting?
Gosh, I wish I wrote down the number. It's easily in probably around the 250 mark. Yeah, like 250 models just yeah in the last 6 months easily, if
that's
not maybe a handful more.
that's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah,
I'm trying to think how many models since I've been back in the hobby, how many I've painted, and it's not double figures.
yeah.
In like 2 years. You
It's
know,
one of those things where it's like, I was like, oh, that's impressive, but it's like, does he go outside? No, no, I do not. I definitely need to go outside a bit more.
yeah. Can you paint outside? No, because the wet palette dries up too quick.
Well, right now it's winter, so it's either it's freezing right now and it's so much rain, or it's like yeah, 1,000 degrees. Like it's Australia. There's one and there's no in between.
It sounds a bit like Texas, actually. Yeah. I'm still acclimatizing. That's my excuse.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, this was like the first commission, and it was just fun. And like the guy was like super nice. He's like, you know what, just have fun. Like as long as the color scheme is like the blue and the white and the red, like as long as it's got that in it, do whatever you want. Like I was like, oh, yeah, great, that's great. Like when
so
when a guy who's getting you to paint his models is like just kind of putting his faith in you, and like that is the best because you do get to have that creative freedom to kind of still do what you want, which
it's
is
a it's a hell of a step up though, Ben, isn't it? Really, like when you got into it in 21.
yeah.
In the middle of COVID, like a lot of people come back into the hobby, didn't they? That story is so common and fantastic, really, isn't it? When everyone's stuck and feeling pretty miserable and stuff like that. There's this wonderful hobby, and the community we have in the hobby is so good in it. You
Oh,
know,
some of them so just like so many of the people that I've reached out to who I just I message them and say, hey, I love your model. Like they're always so nice, and quite often like they sometimes just offer to like without even asking, they'll just send you the how they did it, and it's like, oh, that's fantastic. I can keep that and try that again in the future, or like
yeah.
send you links to things they use and stuff, and they're just happy to share. Even some of those ones that have like the 20 plus thousand followers that like
It's
you'd
quite
never think they would
yeah.
respond to a message you sent to them. Sometimes they do, and it's just and they're always just so nice. Like
It's quite humbling, isn't it?
it's yeah, I think it's a great hobby, like just a place where you can share your art, and about 99% of the people always will say something positive. It's
Yeah.
great.
So I think it's amazing. You know, that's why this channel exists. You know, this chat, because it just feels like it's something you want to do. I want to get to know my hobby mates, and you
Yeah.
know, everyone's got a slightly different take on it, and it's just good fun talking about things like this, isn't it?
I
Um,
love talking about the hobby.
what I was going to say then. So you know, um, your PowerPoint presentation to your future wife at the time was like, I just need one box set, and now you're getting box sets sent to your commissions, you know.
All the twists of the bowl, like, can I have some models?
Well, I've got some pictures here of your setup. Let me just scan through these. Yeah, look at now. Look, how did you get away with this, Ben? You know
That
how,
went from pretty much, just the black desk with just like 10 paint pots on it to that probably a little bit too quick.
I love this arch light. This is something
Oh,
I've, you know.
that thing I love. It's so good. I did have another hobby arm that like I just got from Amazon, like like $20. That was great, but then it broke, and I was like, oh, I need a new one. I was like, oh, I'd like to get one of those like really nice fancy ones, but they're pretty expensive. So but I was what then funny enough, my partner like I went and bought another like lamp, and I was like, it's good, not as good as the other one I had, but like it's a bit more, probably will live a little bit longer than the last one. And then my partner, this was last year, yeah, at the end of last year, she started getting into doing like nail painting and like trying to do all the designs and stuff on her nails.
Hmm.
Um, and then she was like, "Oh, I need a lamp." And then she would sometimes come and steal my lamp, and then I would have no lamp. And I was like, "Oh, look, I want to buy another lamp now. Like, you can have this one, but like, I don't want to just get like another cheap one or this one again because I don't really like it." And then funny enough, she was like, oh, "Just get the one you want." And I was like, are you sure?" So yeah, I bought the thing and it's great. It's really flexible. You can like bend it into whatever position you really want. And they even have bigger ones on the site as well that will probably cover the entire length of like my whole area here. It would cover up everything. But like yeah, it's great. It's really bendy,
Hmm.
um, very bright, and it comes with a cool remote control as well that you can change the uh brightness and the color tones as well. It's great, but it's a bit expensive.
So
But
the big question then, the big question is, does it have full RGB disco effects as well? You know,
no,
oh,
only goes from that bright white to like the cool white, and then like the like orangey
yeah.
light.
Hmm.
Yeah,
No,
yeah, but it does light up everything as you can see in that
yeah,
picture. Like,
it's really
right.
impressive. Yeah, I'm gonna have to find out because I've got one that I got from IKEA, which is good.
Yeah,
You know, light technology. I can't remember. It's like a 7,000 something bulb. You know, daylight bulb and that, which
yeah,
is okay. I never paint in here though. I've hardly ever
yeah.
painted or sculpted in here. I always sit at the kitchen table, so I'm not like you know, like hiding away from the family. I just sit in there whilst they're watching Netflix and stuff like that. But
I will say, like, as much as I love it, I sometimes look and go, it's maybe a little bit unnecessary. Like, you can definitely get away with, as long as you're right, you have those daylight bulbs. Like, you definitely don't want to use light bulbs that are like the yellow tinted ones or
hmm.
anything. You just want those natural light ones. And I've seen people with just two of like those IKEA ones with the
Hmm.
two light bulbs, and like that would have cost like $30 or something, and like
Yeah,
that's great. Like but I will say having a nice bright area for painting changes how you paint, and it makes everything way easier.
yeah. Oh,
So,
this is
painting
definitely
dark,
something
with a bright light.
on my list of
Yeah.
things to get. You know,
It's called Light Lure. I'm not too sure off the top of my head. I know I have an Instagram post which has just like kind of almost this picture, but with the desk being much neater, that
oh
has a link to the lamp. So if you're interested, you can look there for it. I think
yeah.
if you got to scroll down.
It's one of the things we're in a rented place at the moment, a very small place,
Yeah.
and that so it is what it is. But when we get when we move, which I
Yeah.
don't know when that'll be. That may be next year. The criteria that because my wife is she's very arty. She's starting a job as an art teacher in August,
Oh,
so we've been talking about it for ages, having a studio, and so that's definitely going to happen, and we'll definitely have a big light like that, because I think
yeah.
it frustrates me a little bit, because I have got two little lights. I've got a mag light and this IKEA
Mm.
jobby, and you're absolutely right. Light is critical if you want to paint properly. That's my excuse. That's why I don't paint properly. But yeah. So yeah, I was you gone from like one box set, and within 6 months or whatever you're doing your first commission, you got
Mm.
racks full of paints and stuff like that. It's really, and this is
Yeah.
why I wanted to speak to you and have you on the show. Is your rapid sort of exponential development into Warhammer is quite phenomenal, really, isn't it? You've just
It's just, as I said, it's just something I never thought that I would be really good at or enjoy. Like, as I said, no artistic bone in me at all. And then, from the second I put that brushstroke on, was just hooked. And like, it just brings me so much joy just seeing different paint brands. And when you see all, like, you got all your paints on a nice rack like that, it's very like aesthetically pleasing. Although you can probably see slightly behind me, there's a drawer that's open that is just filled with paints.
we've got to have a
So
look
like,
now, haven't we? Let's have a
I
look.
definitely,
Oh yeah.
yeah, that one right there is just from the front pretty much to the back of it, which even goes underneath a little bit. It's just filled with more paints and paint pots and all sorts of things, and like it's just nice just seeing them all. Like, it's a little bit unnecessary having so many, I think, but it's nice having seeing them, and like just like all the colors and all the ideas that then pop in your head, like, oh, I could maybe try mixing this color with this color, and
Yeah,
you know
totally.
make and make some nice maybe blends and transitions and
Mm.
stuff. And yeah.
I'm kind of going the other way. I'm kind of, I'm on a budget, and what
That's, yeah.
Multi was telling me was, go with your primary colours. You might want the black and white,
Mm,
red. What was it? Red, blue, and yellow,
mm.
and
Yeah,
then
something like that. You
you
can make every color under
make
the sun.
everything for. Yeah, I make a lot of browns with that combination. I'm still trying to learn how to to
It,
mix colours
it
properly, but
definitely I definitely think it's something that I'd almost say primarily like GW does, is like, they always release those when like new stuff comes out. They do those like tutorials, they do, and they're fantastic, the ones they do, and it's always great because they always do it with like the 10 paints you need.
hmm
And I know when you go into the store, you buy 10 paints, you always get the ninth one free. So like it's great like that. But you sometimes look at them and there'll be one of the colors in that paint selection that you use on like a bit of detail that's that big, and then you're never going to need that paint again. And if you don't paint that model range again, then those 10 paints that you have won't really match something else. And that's how then it kind of like loops you
yeah,
in a little bit more. Like, I have probably more than 15 shades of blue behind me, where I could make all 15 shades of those with
with
like
two
a
pens.
base blue and white and black. Like, but I will say, for convenience sake, and
Mm.
that's something like, I think I saw a post recently about someone that was like, man, I really wish I wrote down that recipe of how I painted this model, because now I've gone back and like tried to see what I blended and what didn't with this certain color, when you could just already have a pre-bought
Yeah.
of that blend. So it is good. I love owning different paints, and I keep looking at all those other big box sets. Like, I'd love to have the full range of the AK Interactive, and there's some other brands like all the Army Painter speed paints. I'd love to have all of those. And I'm like, dear God, I'm gonna need more drawers. Like, but it's like, at the same time, I keep going, no, you do not need to like have that. You have so many paints as it is. Like, you don't need that one specific brown. Like, but even then, I was even just this morning when I was looking on like my where I usually order my stuff from Gap Games. Um, I was like looking at paint sets, and I was like, stop. Like I'm pretty sure I heard my wallet screaming at me.
Yeah.
Coming up through. I was like, stop, stop what you're doing.
Yeah, I think that's similar for most people. You know, you
Yeah,
might
yeah,
go into. I did the last time I went into a store, get a hobby
yeah,
store. The only thing I come out of was paints. I couldn't justify committing to miniatures and stuff like that. I was like, oh, maybe next time I'll get some
yeah.
miniatures, but I still come out with like 4 pots of paint, and I was like, I could have bought a miniature. You know, I probably could have bought a miniature. But, I've got so many miniatures that I haven't painted. I
Yeah.
thought, no, I can't do that, but I can sneak a couple of pots of paint. You know, I get that green, that luminous green. I need that.
And the thing with the pots of the paints, like they're small enough you could put in your pocket and like almost just kind of like walk into the house and it's like okay, like no one needs to see I've bought this, and you just put it on your shelf and it's like it blends in with all the other ones and you're
Yeah,
like okay,
and
got away with that one.
they're not cheap, are they? You know, they are quite expensive now, aren't they? Paint. So when I first started the hobby, you could get a pot of paint when I first started. No, let's rewind it. The
Yeah,
last time I seriously, you know, in
yeah,
2010, they were about £2.5. So I don't know
yeah,
what the exchange rate is between dollars and pounds.
ridiculous,
Um,
but yeah,
yeah, but now you're
yeah.
probably looking at about £7 or £8
Yeah, I
for
think
you
almost
know.
maybe even 9 for some of them. But yeah, I will say there's definitely some like as much as I do truly think that the GW paints are actually pretty great.
Hmm.
Even some of the ones that I know people hate, like Korax White is probably one of the ones that's up there as the most hated paints in the hobby market. I actually really love when you can get the paint to work. I love how it looks on the things. It just does do that clumping thing, which is a real shame about it, but it's a great white tone. But there are other companies that, like, I know so many people argue like paint pots versus dropper bottles versus any other apparatuses, but there are other brands that aren't GW that are cheaper,
Hmm.
that almost a one-to-one. Like I love Vallejo. Like
Yep.
I think Vallejo is probably at the moment my favorite paint range that you can get, and they are probably half the price of GW. Hey, there
Oh.
we go. Yeah, I
Woohoo.
love them. I use mostly their model game range, but the game color
Yeah.
range is also really nice.
Yep.
But I love how they're quite thick, which means you can like thin them to the consistency you want to paint with, and
Hmm.
like I think that's great. And it is nice having the dropper bottles over the pots because you don't get all that gunk underneath.
Hmm.
It's, I think, a real shame that there's not really too much you can do about that.
No. A lot of people
But
transferring them, aren't they? I can't be
I'm,
bothered
I'm
with any of that. But
it's something I've even been thinking about myself, but I'm just like, I don't know if I could be bothered. But
plus, what would you
yeah,
do with your rack? Your rack is geared up for
well,
that, isn't it? Yeah.
that rack could just have the dropper bottles in it.
Oh, okay.
And I'd probably be able to fit more across, maybe by one more paint
So
than
that
the
hasn't
pot.
got the little pot
No, no, it's
socket.
just like a shelf. Just
Okay.
a shelf. I can't even remember where I found. I think I like Etsy or something, and there's MDMF on the those like wooden ones that come
Hmm.
printed out, and just kind of just put it together, and it looks nice. It's really unnecessary. You can just have a drawer filled with paints. In
Yes,
fact,
that's me.
probably most of the paints I'm using right now are from the drawer,
Yeah, right.
and it's always like pick it up. Nope, 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 nope. Ah, found it. But yeah,
So
it does look nice. I do love having it, and I would love to have all of my paints on display, but I just don't have the room.
no, no. I think most people would. You know, it's an easy one to focus on, but there are like many other things that you need to
Mm,
do, especially you know, like I sculpt. So there's a certain amount of tooling that you need for like. Well, not that many. You can make your own tools actually, but you can like paint. You can buy loads of different tools, but there are a few that are common. You know, like the little silicone brushes and the ones with the
yeah.
balls on the end and stuff like that. Most people buy those,
Mm,
cheap and cheerful. But for your commission painting, then that sort of
yeah.
thrust you into like assembly line manufacture of so you're talking glues, clippers, basing, all this sort of stuff. So you've gone from 0 to 100 miles an hour in a very short time. So how do you cope? How do you do it?
Um, I don't know. You just kind of do it as you go.
There
Um,
you go. Some of the
like
tools.
yeah, I mean, look, I have there's like the Citadel clippers, which I mean, you can use whatever clippers you like, but
Hmm.
for the time being, like um, that's like my best pair of clippers I have. So I always keep like one nice pair of clippers, and then the ones on the far right, yep, those ones. They are crap. Like they are, I use those for cutting like thick pieces of sprue, or quite often, because I've started pinning models to cork.
Hmm.
I use that to cut the pins as well. And
Okay.
then the pliers are what I use once I've got it pinned. Like I use that to help shove the pin in and then push it onto the cork. And then a hobby knife that's your best friend for getting rid of your mold lines and the sprue cuts and stuff.
Hmm.
And that's pretty much all I use for my thing.
Corks, pliers,
I use
clippers,
cork. Yeah,
knife.
cork is my paint hand. That's my primary paint handle. And you
Hmm.
can buy like a pack of 100 for like $10, and then you've got 100 corks. And then when the corks break, you can just use them as basing materials.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
So like that's all I do. And yeah, depending on the type of commission, um, I will sometimes just glue the models straight to the base. It really depends on what level they're wanting painted. So,
So
for
what?
instance, I think in that picture right there, there's some world eaters
Yeah.
that are painting in a 30K theme. So the only reason yeah, there they are. That I haven't glued them to the base is because I'm trying them out in a different style. Like when I posted that picture of the killer cans and they were all grimy and stuff. Like that's what the guy wants. Like these guys have been fighting for 10,000 years, but I don't want that grime to go onto the base. So hence why I've just decided I'm going to pin these guys, and it's just going to make when I try and do some cleanup in like more tricky areas, the base won't get in the way. So sometimes just trying to like decide like what you want, and if the client does want more detail done to the base, um, it does make it easier not having the model glued on, and then you can always. I mean, I sometimes do, sometimes don't, depending on how the connection point on the model is to the base. Um, I'll just pin the model into the base, so I'll keep that pin that's in its foot, and I'll just drill in and then bend it underneath and glue it all. Or I'll just, you can twist the pin out pretty easily. It's just super glue, and once you twist it once, it'll come out, and then
What?
I just glue them to the base.
What are you using for a pin? Just is it just wire?
Paperclip. I just
Paperclip.
grab paperclip
Okay.
and I
Yeah.
just unfold it, and yeah, it's great. It works. It's only
Yeah.
something I've recently started
Great.
doing, but
Hmm. So
yeah, better to get into those angles that you can't, because the base, if you do glue models straight to the base, which I do all the time,
mhm.
it does make your life hell when you're trying to get to certain parts.
Yeah, so I'm all ears because I won a Horus Heresy box set, Age of Darkness, is it?
Oh yeah,
I won that box set, and to my shame, I haven't assembled anything yet. In fact, I've only opened it like twice,
yeah.
but I'm
Don't
getting
worry,
close.
one
I'm
of the
getting
boxes
close.
I made, they're all built and 90% painted.
Yeah, wow. So yeah, mind blowing.
I got a problem.
Commission painting. So I'm sure there'll be plenty of people out here, in the hobby that have wondered about that. Oh, could I get into it? You are debunking that process really for me. You are just right. You had a bit of a break with the diorama,
Mhm.
the orc diorama. Um, how does the client approach you? Do you know, are there certain questions that you're asking because maybe the client doesn't really know what they want and stuff? How do you go about it, Ben?
Yeah, well, so as I was pretty lucky. I just posted a picture, and I had no really knowledge that I was gonna do commission painting or anything. But posted the picture, and the guy reached out, and then yeah, it was pretty much more a conversation. He reached out just over Facebook, like just using Messenger. Um, and yeah, it was just a conversation, and yeah, I invited him over to my house because he lives in the same city. And so he just came over, and we had a talk, and he was like, yeah, I just want, like, this is the theme I want. And he was kind of pretty much just happy for me to kind of just have a go.
Mhm.
And then from there, it kind of led into a little bit more of me like looking again. Using Facebook has probably been the best way of doing it, because like on those buy and sell pages, like there's those specific Warhammer ones, and I'm sure if anyone Googles like you know types into Facebook like buy and sell Warhammer and then your city or something, you'll probably find like a Facebook group. um, so I found like there was one specifically for Adelaide, which is my city, and I just then made an ad, and I posted a few of these pictures, and then that led into my next one, and then my next one after that, and then I think after doing two of them, a little bit of word of mouth helped spread as well. Like they'll talk to their friends, hey, I got this guy to paint me these models. And then I started getting messages. And then that's probably where I started using my Instagram as a bit more of my like point of contact. Um, so, I started like posting a lot more on my Instagram,
Mhm.
trying to get that to grow as well. And then the craziest thing happened just probably 2 days ago, actually. A guy from from America actually asked me, "Hey, would you like to paint some of my models if I send them to you?" I'm just like, "From America? Like, are you sure? Like, what do you
Wow.
mean? Like, you're gonna send that so far and stuff?" I do think I did kind of like have a bit of talk with him. I was like, if
Mhm.
I was you, I would probably try and source someone in a bit closer to you, because shipping and stuff, and like I'm not here to rip off people. Like,
Mhm.
you know I'm just here. I just enjoy painting. Like that's my number one thing. I just like doing it. It can get a bit tedious with certain armies, but there's still a little bit of a joy even in certain things when you see something finished. And yeah, I'll definitely go into that.
Mm.
About batch painting armies and stuff, because even here, like there's the 9 big knobs, and then there's the 20 just regular orcs. And I will say the 20 regular orcs did feel like a bit of a slog. And I could kind of say, oh, yeah, this is a bit painful, because I was painting 10 at a time. And I was like, yep, okay, this is starting to hurt a little bit. Like, this is starting to maybe drain a little bit of the fun from it.
Mhm.
So I did the boys first. And then when I did the knobs, I only painted like 3 at a time, and I painted them from like start to finish, just so you could see a finished product. And I actually found that I was painting them faster than I was doing all 10, and
Ah.
you got that bit more satisfaction of seeing fully finished models. Because you would find like you'd have like just all the green painted on someone, and then just all the red, and then you would see all the other details that are not painted yet, and it kind of then makes you feel a little bit disheartened, like, oh, I've still got so much more to go. But when you're doing like a bit smaller chunks, um, it really helps speed up the process a bit. I
Yeah.
definitely found that when I went into my next commission, because pretty much straight after these guys, um, was when I started getting like the world eaters and the grey knights and stuff, and like
It's just fun, but
um,
you see, I'm just skipping through all these. Where there we go. There's a world
yeah,
eaters, mate. Yeah.
here's the world eaters. Yeah, these guys I am too familiar with.
Yeah. How
Because
many how
I
many armies have you done?
I've painted um 3 or 4 full armies,
Gosh.
and out of those, 2 of them have been world eater armies. So I did back to back, like I like finished a full massive world eater army, and then did another one straight away. And I will
Golly.
say, I started maybe going a little bit insane towards the end of the second one,
Yeah.
because these models have so much trim, just so much gold trim, and so many little baubles. I think I was telling you, like, for
Mm.
Chaos Marines that are meant to be like the evil bad guys. They are decked out in bling.
Oh, they
They are
love it, don't they? They love it. Yeah.
they are way more fancy than a space marine. Like they just have all the baubles, and it's like they've gone to the shops and they took the credit card and they went to town. Like they bought everything they could.
Brilliant. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a bit of it's upside down in that regard. It's like
yeah.
the bad
Like
guys have all of the good gear. Yeah.
it's like look at this guy.
I know,
Like
it's ridiculous, isn't it?
there's teeth everywhere, and some of the teeth are there's horns and helmets and skulls and dangling bits and cloths and chains and
Just showing
ugh,
off, aren't they?
they really are. They're a bit rude if anything. For a painter, it's just a bit rude. Nah, but
They,
they are a joy once you see a finished one because they do have all
oh, they
those
look
bits.
amazing, don't they? I mean, they are very, very fancy. But like, if you're only doing one or two, you can really go to town on these, can't you?
Yeah,
But I feel your pain. The thought of painting an army, it doesn't stay in my head very long at all. It's like it's usually associated with pain,
yeah.
So
It's definitely something I'd almost maybe recommend, like anyone who's new to commission painting, like try and stick to some smaller commissions to start with. Like the few kill teams that I've painted
hmm
have been the most fun I've had because it is like maybe around 10 models at most, and you can spend a little bit more extra time and a bit more detail compared to like getting a full world eater arm. Like the first world eater arm I did, he had 40 berserkers. Um, he had 18 of these 8 bound. Yeah, he had a couple of tanks. It was like seeing that many models, and this was the world eater army I did. That was the second full army I did, and comparing that to the first army I did, which was the Grey Knights, which they were significantly easier. I painted a full, it was over 2,000 points of Grey Knights in 2 weeks. um, and I was like, oh, painted a whole army. Like this is easy. But if you look at Grey Knights, they're mostly just that silver metallics with a
hmm
couple of extra bits and bobs over here. I was like, yeah, this is easy. I can paint full world eater army. Yeah,
hit
no
me
worries.
up.
That
Yeah.
take me 2 weeks. Easy. I just did a whole army in 2 weeks. All right. And I got them all. And like probably after painting the first like berserker, I was like, no.
But
I made a mistake.
this is there's so much on here, and you are earning your money with these figures, aren't you? You really are, because and that's a fairly decent standard you got there, fella. I mean, you've got shading, you've got edge highlighting, haven't you? You've
Yeah, this is I think he's one of the ones I did for the second World Eater army I did, and he did have it was still a 2,000 point
hmm
more army, but he did have less models in it because he had some more bigger things.
right, yeah.
And so yeah, he did ask like he wanted to pay for like the next tier up, which I'm thinking like tiers. I'm still leaving now because I've only been doing it for a little while, like adjusting prices and trying to think like how do you make your different price tiers. But like he wanted them to look like he loved how I did the first World Eater armor, but he was like, hey, I just want you to do like a little bit extra. I was like, sure, like that'll cost you a little bit extra, but like I'm happy to do it. And when you're doing more things like the edge highlighting and stuff, like it does take longer,
Oh yeah.
but it's also a little bit more satisfying when you see the
hmm
finished product because you're like, oh yeah, this guy does look a little bit cooler.
This one is stunning. It really
Yeah,
is. I can see how much effort you put into, just this helmet alone. There's a lot going on there. So, when you get to do the Marine Army, when you've got like a head start literally there, haven't you? Uh, but then
oh yeah,
so your different tiers. I'm just thinking about like when you tell me my own business, but when you're sitting down and quoting, you're working out what, okay, the customer's giving his ideas and stuff like that. You're sitting there, oh man, I've got to give a quote, so
mm,
I think it's going to take this long, and I guess once you've given a quote and that is that, and it do you put a stopwatch against yourself? Are you timing yourself roughly to sort of say, like, I've got to be here by these milestones, otherwise I'm just gonna.
I do a little bit. I try to. So obviously, I will say, coming up with a quote for someone that is like a semi-daunting
Yeah,
experience
I
because
bet.
obviously that's when you're starting to put a price on your ability.
Yeah.
Um, so like that is a little bit scary, especially like these armors I'm painting for people who've done the hobby for years and stuff, and they're like they just don't have time anymore.
Mhm.
But like you don't want to. It's really hard to justify pricing a model, especially when, as I said, artists are the toughest critics are themselves. So, even though like I know my painting's good, but I would look at it and go, oh man, it's not that good. Like I can't charge that much for these models. And so I think like my first two commissions, like I did them quite cheap, and I definitely like I don't regret that, but it's one of those things where it is truly hard to put a cost on how to quote someone. So I did do a lot of research first. Like I went on to a couple of those commissioned studios and stuff, and some of them have their pricing quotes. And so I pretty much like I found one that I liked, and then I kind of almost divided everything by two. So like I just halved everything, and I was like, "Yep, that's my prices." And I will say that maybe did help with getting initial clients is charging a little bit cheaper because they're like, hey, this guy paints pretty good and he paints cheap, like. And then since like changing some prices around, I have had one of my guys that I originally did a commission for be like, oh, it's maybe a little bit too expensive now. I'm like, but you gotta then like justify it for the quality you're producing and the time you're spending on it. Like
Oh
as I
yeah.
said, Grey Knight Army, like 2 weeks. Did it real quick, and like that's one right there, and I think he looks great. Like
It does. Yeah, it's stunning.
um, and I think at the time, I think I charged maybe like $7 or $10 for that, um, and that easily took me, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 hours. So if you do the cost per hour,
It doesn't
it's
add up,
really
does it?
not at all.
No.
And so like, I've revised my commission tiers, and I've even added in an extra tier. Like, I've now got my tier one is just literally just base coat paints. Like if you just want them, having your three colors on a model so you can play it in a tournament. Like I've just got that, and then I've got my next tier which has the base coats with just shades, like just putting some washes on things, so add some definition,
Mhm.
and like some minor select highlights. So like it'll just be like, where's the reflection going to catch? Okay, I'm just going to put a quick highlight over here, and then I have my next tier, which is like my top tier, which that will be like highlights everywhere and facial details. I don't include that in the second one because doing things like eyes and stuff, which I mean I'm still learning, but they are they are all time consuming, and if you make a mistake, you've got to repaint the whole area, wait for everything to dry, and then have another crack at it because no one gets the eyes right the first time.
No.
So like it's tricky, and then like scripture on text and stuff like that's all extra details. I do
Mhm.
add time and stuff. So like all those extra bits and bobs are now like my top tier. But even then, it's still not. I'm not charging like exuberant amounts. I
No.
think my like for like a top tier like Space Marine sized model that's not a character, I think is like $15. Like I'm still not, because I just can't justify like I'm not someone that can do like those full non-metallic metal whole armies and stuff, like who could charge probably like a couple of grand for like 10 models
Yes, I
or
mean,
something I don't even know.
this is a really good quality for an army, isn't it? You've got all the
Yeah,
the text on there. You obviously got the
yeah,
shading and edge highlighting.
yeah. So
That.
this now, like looking at this model, that's almost something I'd probably now charge at like my probably top end
Mhm.
scale of things. But at the time, like that was it was probably $10 for him. And funny enough, the guy I painted it for, he he's like a tournament player, so he just, he chews through armies. He'll play an army and then he'll go nope, and then he'll sell it. So he's funny enough, he sold this army for like, I think triple. I probably charged him to paint it all.
Well, there you go. That, yeah.
Like I saw a single tear fall down my face when I saw it
Yeah.
on the buy and sell page. I was like, oh.
Well, that's a possibility as well, isn't it? You know, retail your own painted armies.
Once, yeah, and that's the thing. Once you've given it to the client, like, it is their mod. They can do whatever they
Hmm.
want with it. If they, end up throwing it in the bin or selling it themselves, like, it's like you can't get too attached to the ones that you do. Even though I look at those models and go, man, like if I could have afforded to buy my army that I painted for him, like I would have, because I loved how nice they came out at the end.
Very, very good.
But yeah, it's just one of those funny things where, you know, it's really hard because it's like, wow, hang on. It's like, yeah, you're right. Like maybe I should just buy an army, paint it up, and then try and flip it.
Hmm.
But that's a whole different ballpark that
Of
I
course
don't
it is.
even haven't thought about.
So, do you charge for materials like paint and varnishes and stuff like that as well? Do you add that into the quote?
It's one of those things where I did at the very start had like an initial, and it was just an arbitrary number I pulled out from nowhere. I was just like, yeah, and then just to book me, like there's just like a $20 booking um like fee, which I pretty much said like, that $20 is just so I can go and buy a can of the primer that
Hmm.
I'm gonna use. Like that was pretty much all I was charging. Now I kind of took that out of my prices because I've upped the pricing of like the just the model painting process overall. So I've taken that out. Um, it's still, I'm still working on it, but I
Hmm.
do have in my tiers, like um then I've got my basing tiers, like my tier one basing, which something would just be like this, just a texture
Hmm.
paste, and then my tier two, which then I'd like design things or make like cork rocks and stuff and add tufts and stuff, and then like that I charge more. So then whatever it turns out to in the quote, like that would then just go to material costs versus probably, I guess, profits or whatever. I will say, um, I have tried probably, yeah, for the last 5 months to try and do commission painting as like a full time source of income,
Hmm.
and I found that it's just cost per time just can't add up. So I have recently gotten a new job, which is great, to help pay for everything.
Of course.
But I'll still do commissions, but it will definitely be like that, more of the side project. So as much as I'd love to do this full time, it's just something I haven't figured out.
Yeah, and I think I've seen on Instagram. I see quite a lot of commission paintings, and I bet that is common. That there's only a
Mm,
few that can really nail it full
yeah.
time. And
Mm.
do you want to turn your hobby into a full time job anyway? Sometimes that
Yeah,
goes
yeah,
south pretty
it's like
quick, doesn't
the
it?
joy out for it. So yeah, but definitely, like, I still love painting, and I'll
Hmm.
happily paint every day. Yeah, and I'll still definitely do commissions going into the
Hmm.
future, but it'll probably be one of those things where now I probably can't do a full army in by a deadline. So with the Grey Knights and the first World Eater army, which is this one,
Yep.
um,
Sorry,
I
no
did have.
PTSD here, right?
No, 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 no. It's still seeing them all. I did have a deadline on those because, as I said, he was a tournament player. So he was like, "Hey, I got a tournament coming up in here. I need this army." And so yeah. But then the second World Eater armor I did, which I did enjoy a lot more doing than this first one because it was some slightly less models, and it did get to do Angron, which was really cool. Um,
Yes.
he was a little bit more flexible with like what he wanted done, and I had a bit of a longer time frame as well, so that did help as well. So I think deadlines are great because they help you like structure. Hey, I need to get these berserkers finished by this week so I can start the 8 bound by over here.
Hmm.
um but having that freedom to kind of like take your time with them as well is great. That's the Cassica kill team I did, and that's probably one of my favorite commissions I've done. 10 models. I got to spend my time on each of them. I got to practice some new things like, trying to get my plasma glow to look a bit better. Like, it's still not perfect compared to some of those crazy people that do insane OSL effects, but I was like, that's a nice looking plasma gun for what I can do at the time. And like, yeah, got to make the custom bases. He wanted like that destroyed city look and stuff. So like, this
So,
was one of my favorite commissions I got to do because it was just all pretty much custom. Like,
wow, I didn't realize that, because it's hard sometimes to work out what's custom and what's just part of the kit, but not.
yeah, no, I
Yeah.
just that's just cork that I
Mhm.
thinly cut to be like bricks, and then
Yeah.
I had some leftover 3D printed scrapped metal pile bits that I used for my Goth Rocker display I did. So, like, yeah, added those to the base, and then just like other just broken bits of cork and texture paste and everything. Yeah,
Really good.
I love doing it because yeah, okay, yeah, you can see there's some of that plastic. I mean the 3D printed metal
Mhm.
scrap piles and stuff, and it was just fun. I would happily paint like kill teams in particular. Like if I could only paint those as a commission, yeah, I'd be so happy because like the other one I did was the Custodes kill team, and I love how they turned out. Like doing the trying to get that nice gold that doesn't look just like a single coat or something. Um, that was also really fun. And then those bases that he wanted from a company I think called Skyborn Miniatures, and they were such fun, detailed bases that it was great.
So is that the dude who lives in? Is it Poland or something? Skyball
I think
Miniatures.
they are from Poland, but I was like there's a bunch of hobby stores that just sell their products. So Gap
Ah,
Games,
okay.
Supply. I think in Australia they're in Queensland. They have a huge range of hobby products from like every company. They're a fantastic hobby company. So yeah, they've got like, they sell most of the AK range and they're actually getting more in. They sell the ammo by MiG, Vallejo, Army Painter, all these things. And then they've got all like the basing companies as well, and all of the wargaming tabletop games you can get, Conquest, all the Star Wars, all the like the World War II Allies and Axis
Mhm.
games and stuff. You can get so many things from there. Pretty cool. Pretty cool company, and they're affordable prices as well. So
That's good.
little ad.
Yep.
Not sponsored.
More
I do have
crack.
affiliate link.
So I'm trying to find Angron. Where is he? I digress. I love this. I took this off Instagram yesterday.
Yeah, no, yeah. Those are banners all for my Black Templars.
Beautiful.
Um, and yeah, banners are something that second one from the left is the first one I did. One that says Crusader.
Mhm.
Um, and that was like kind of almost my first attempt at like a little bit of non-metallic gold on there because I didn't want to use metallic paints on the cloth because I was like, oh, that doesn't really make sense. It's like, it's
Yeah.
very rough. It's not
Mhm.
that nice, but like from a distance, it
Yeah. Yeah.
looks so. And it was first time painting a banner that I was like really nervous about, but I was like, oh, they look so nice in
They
the
do.
army.
Yeah. Is
Uh,
this freehand or are these transfers?
those are decals, yeah, they're
Decals.
transfers.
Yeah.
I'm not that good. Not
Yeah,
yet,
no,
at least.
a lot of them, a lot of people are employing the decals though, and it's like there's lots of different ways of doing it now as well. And you like kind of melt the decal
Yeah,
in the
I
glaze and
started
stuff. Don't you?
using that micro set and micro soul product. That
That's
one's
right.
just that's just I think water, and then I put a matte varnish on top, so it kind of wasn't so glossy.
Mhm.
But yeah, I've started using the micro set micro soul stuff, and that stuff's kind of cool. It's a little bit. I think you need a little bit of practice with it, but once you've kind of got it, it does. Yeah, it melts almost. Yeah,
How does
melts.
it work then? So just explain how it
So
works.
yeah, so I made this mistake of getting it the wrong way around when I was trying to put it onto a shoulder pad. Um, because when you go to say it, it almost sounds a bit nicer saying micro soul, micro set, but it's definitely the other way around of micro set, micro soul. because the set is it's almost in the name. It helps you set it into the position you want, and then the micro soul you put on top afterwards, and that kind of melts it onto the surface. So I made the mistake of putting micro soul on first, and then when I put the decal on and I was trying to move it into the position, it kind of just melted all
Mm.
crumbly and um, disgusting. And then when I tried getting it off, I ended up just scraping off all the layers of paint that I put underneath that I spent so long getting nicely. I ended up just throwing the shoulder pad in the bin, and I got a new one from my spare bits box, and just painted a new one up because I was like, oh, stop it. It's like it's like, oh, you broke my trust in the bin.
Oh man.
But
Well,
yeah, but
yeah,
micro set, micro soul. So yeah,
set
big
in
big.
place. Yeah.
And then on top of that, I then put a matte varnish on because the micro um soul, even though like it melts the decal, doesn't really. I'm not sure if melt is the right word, but like
Mm.
molds it onto the model. It's still glossy, so I then
Right.
put matte varnish on top to
Mhm.
get rid of that gloss.
I love
But
this one here.
yeah, banners is fun. Yeah, and that's from the Black Templar upgrade sprue. That's awesome. I think
Mhm.
it's called the Aurelian Shroud or something.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Right.
it's cool. It just looks cool.
Very
I think
cool.
all and I do love it, like all the skull aesthetics of the Black Templars. It's always just fun.
Hopefully,
Those
yeah.
Dark
Oh my
Crusaders.
gosh, here we go. More of the
Yeah,
bling
it's
the bling
Khan.
busters.
Yeah, yeah. He was a pretty fun one to paint up. I found with the characters, because what I've been doing with my commissions is I always do like the main blob of infantry first, and then the elites, and then like if there's any vehicles and stuff. And I always save the characters for last because characters are always the most fun to paint because they're the ones that you're going to spend the most time and effort on. I feel like if you do them at the start, you don't have anything to look forward to.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's
yeah, with this World Eater one, I did like Khan, and then I did Angron. And it was just a lot of fun to do. And yeah, that's
ooh.
that custom basing. Like the guy,
Yeah.
he wanted the bloody skulls. He wanted everyone on like a bit of a rock platform. And this guy was great. He is yeah, one of my main guys I've been doing some commission painting for. And yeah, he actually supplied like 2 packets of the skulls. He provided the cork basing. He provided all the tufts. I think he gave me like 4 paint pots of blood for the blood god. And on top of that, he also still paid all my all my prices. Like he still paid for me to do the basing and paid for me to do all the extra detailing. But he supplied so many things, which
Awesome.
is also it's one of those things where I think it's like you don't want to sound like greedy or ungrateful for certain people and stuff, but when the client is like really passionate about what you can do, it also really helps motivate you to want to paint better. So maybe it's almost more of a message for the clients out there that want their things army is like trust the person that you're getting to paint your stuff, because if you put all your faith into them to do what uh what they can, like the best job that they can for you, and most people, if you're paying them, like they're going to try and do the best they can. um like it does make me as a painter, like I've wanted to put way more effort into him because he's being so just generous and nice about everything. I sometimes compare it to one of my more new commissions where like I'll still paint the best I can for the person that I can, but this guy, he just wants me to copy and paste his scheme, and he's also just very hypercritical. So like I even I painted up some of his models, and like I was holding his model and my model next to each other, and I was like, well, I can't really tell the difference here. But I then even sometimes, depending on the person, like I'll go and drop off the models if they live close enough, so I like drove to this guy's place about like 3 or 4 times, like pick up stuff because I found out he didn't drive. So I was like, oh, okay, I'll be nice. I'll go and do the driving and stuff. And like I've got like no thank yous or anything, and mostly just hey, next time don't do this part. Next time don't do this. Don't do this. And it's like, okay. You're like making me like, I'm still gonna paint your models to the best I can, but like you're making me like not enjoy painting this process because it's like I don't know if I'm doing it good or not. Like because it's all just that he's just like he's just really particular about how he
Mm.
wants his model. So you'll get people like that, and
Yeah, of
you just
course.
you gotta like I know I'm still painting. Like I'm old enough that I can go whatever. This guy's just being really fussy. Like doesn't matter. He doesn't have to say thank you. It's fine. Like, but it's nice when they do.
Of course. I totally understand that. Yeah, I think, especially in our hobby, there's so many different types of people, isn't there? And
Yeah,
like most people are very agreeable and just like buzzing. They've chosen their commission painter, because of what they do and stuff like that. And
yeah. That's I guess a funny thought. Like if you've seen the style, I will say most of my style of painting like hasn't really differed too much. It's almost more like that heavy metal style of
I would
painting,
say
not
definitely,
not
yeah.
not to that level that you see some of them do, but it's kind of what I try and aim for at least. Um, and then for someone to be like, "Hey, I want you this," but like don't use that style. It's like, well, I can definitely try it, but I can't promise you I can make it exactly how you want because I'm so used to you know this other style. But like I always do my best that I can.
Yeah.
That's all. That's all any hobby painter can do, I reckon.
And that's going to be like the interesting part of the commissions, isn't it? Is everyone, the customers, you'll have your favourites, you'll have the ones that you're going to breeze through because it's your style, and then there's other ones that are a little bit more particular that are going to just challenge you a little bit, but then
Yeah.
quote accordingly. Uh,
Well, yeah. I'll never tell them I've marked up the price. No, I'm kidding.
yeah,
But like definitely. When the guy who you're doing the stuff for like gives you all the creative freedom you can, like that just helps your motivation to like bust out the army. Like again, with this guy who I'm doing the 30K themed ones, like that grimy, dirty effect, like that's something I've never done. But because he's given me so much faith to just kind of like, hey, just try it. Like, if you get it wrong, like, I don't really care that much because, at the end of the day, they're still going to look grimy and messy. Like, that's given me so much more confidence to then, like, go and look through some old models I had to, like, then practice first and,
mm,
um, kind of like, all right, yep, this kind of looks cool, and like, now I will, happy to try and recreate that on your models, but like,
I'm
it's
such
good
a
when the person has
I'm
faith.
such a Warhammer noob that I heard 30K the other day.
Oh
I was
yeah,
watching a YouTube and I was like, 30K? What are you on about? And it's like the Horus Heresy is like,
yeah,
and I was like, well, hang on, I've never heard this before. But like, so
yeah.
I
So
was
like
so
the world eaters, like the 40K world eaters is like the red and the gold trim, but the 30K world eaters they're blue and white. So they've got a bit more of a different painting style.
what difference 10K
Yeah.
makes, huh?
Sorry.
What a difference 10,000 years
Oh
make.
yeah, apparently yeah. Like
Pacific
thing is,
Fine Angron, here we go.
hey, there he is, and he is just. You know what? As big of as a model he is, he's not as intimidating to paint as I thought he was going to be. The only biggest problem I had is because of his size, he was hard to like maybe hold.
Yeah.
But yeah, the thing is, I feel like I've become confident enough in my own painting that like I knew when I had the model, like I wasn't going to do it wrong, if that makes any sense.
No, it makes total sense, yeah. And I think,
Yeah.
that's what comes with practice. 250 figures in 6 months or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like when I got him, I was so excited and like I definitely did sub-assembly. Like his arms and wings were not attached to the model because I was like, no, that's going to make it too painful for me. But I kept his arms and wings on separate things. I had corks with big like thicker skewers kind of went into the arms and wings, and I had those mounts. It was kind of funny because, like, yeah, it was on like a tiny cork, but I had this big wing on it, but it all still stayed on because obviously the biggest thing is you don't want to hold any parts of the model when you paint because you'll wipe away the paint over time, which
So
I've done countless amounts of times.
how big is this fella then? I'm pointing to this screen because I've got two
Right.
screens here. But,
Yeah, yeah. He's I don't know, he's maybe about yay big.
gosh,
I
that's
mean,
huge.
if I compare him to Space Marine, he's massive. He's definitely the biggest model I've painted um to date, which I would say that did make it a little intimidating because of the size of him.
Yeah.
Once I broke him down into like the wings and arms, I was like, okay, you know what? He's not going to be too bad.
Mm,
He'll be all right. And yeah, he was fun
awesome.
painting project, and like definitely it took me probably about a week just to do him.
Really.
Um, about a week. And yeah, I love every aspect, and again the base as well.
Mm,
Was more customed as well because the big rock he comes on is kind of quite low actually, and it almost makes him too hunched over. So the guy wanted the rock like propped up a bit more. So I used from Crayola. They've got like this air dry clay stuff. It's for kids and stuff, and like comes as a packet. And if, as long as you keep it in a sealed packet, like it won't dry out. And so just pull off this, and you just like mold it around, and you kind of then grab the rock and kind of just put it on, and just kept on shoving stuff up until it raised it high enough. And you just leave it for like 24 hours, and it doesn't fully harden this stuff because again, it's just for kids.
excuse me.
um, um, but once you've got the rock super glued in, it goes quite firm. And once you've like put texture paste and sprayed it on, like it's pretty much solid afterwards. But yeah, it's a super cheap product as well, so would
Yeah,
recommend
game on.
just to keep it as just something to shove under.
Yeah, I think that's the good thing about the hobby. There's so much like you
So
go
many
into a
things
hobby store and it makes. I go to Walmart and they've got like a little hobby section, but it's so much fun going to Walmart now because I go in there and their stuff is cheap as chips. Right, I'll give an example. This paint range, right? So
Oh
these
yeah,
are
I
these are
remember that one. Yeah,
59 milliliters,
yeah,
right? Nine,
huge.
90 cents.
Yeah,
And it's not too bad if you mix it with other. This is neon colors again. I
yeah,
think this is like $1 something. For me, so like just little cheap paint sets, $4 for a bundle
yeah.
of brushes.
Sometimes the cheaper stuff can be so much better than more of the expensive things. So I find the more expensive your paintbrush or something is, you're always more scared to use it.
Neon green. This glows in the dark. Apparently,
That's,
never tried it. No, I think you need a dark light, a black light, or whatever it is.
yeah,
But what I noticed, what was I doing? I was doing that big Necron figure. The one that was like strung up.
yeah, yeah. I
And
saw that.
I was like, man, that's so big. That's like it's bigger than this Angron figure, And like on that sort of scale, I'm like, oh my gosh, how am I going to do this? But I thought I better get some cheap paints, and I
Mm,
just mixed some of the other more robust paints in with them. So I've got the colour from the cheap ones, and like a bulk in medium, if you like a white or
yeah,
something. And that worked out quite well. So you don't have to spend a fortune on the hobby. You can still get into
well,
the hobby quite cheaply, can't you?
you can like, and yeah, even one of the YouTube people I watch. His name's escaping me, but yeah, I've seen him like he's done some video ranges of like, hey, I'm gonna paint up this model only using the Applebee brand, and the model looked great at the end of the day. Like it was like he compared that to another one. It's like yeah, you can kind of see like it's maybe not as opaque as some of the other ones, but like
Hmm.
what, it's doable. Like
Yeah. Two thin
um
coats and you're away, huh?
yeah, exactly. That's it. Like, I mean, do
Maybe.
do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Like, it's a hobby at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You can't do anything wrong. Like,
No, I agree. I think for me this whole adventure. So like I came back to hobby. When was it? 2021? Maybe 2020. 2020. But I couldn't afford the models. We were already planning our move to Texas, so it was like, you can't go out and buy all these models, mate. You need to concentrate on getting things ready. So I was like, okay. I saw them and I was like, crikey, they're so expensive. So I started sculpting, and I just got some cheap stuff, like the Fimo professional clay, polymer clay. They were
Yeah.
for a 2-inch rectangle or square or whatever of polymer clay. It was like £3. I
Yeah.
was like, I'm in. There we go.
Right.
I can sculpt for next to nothing. A little bit of wire, and you're away. If
Cheaper,
you, you know,
green stuff. Yeah.
so there's so many different levels that we can come in
Yeah.
the hobby, and like I want to go to the paint pot challenge as well, because you put an entry into that. But like my entry, I scratched.
I loved yours. I feel like it was just like it's simple, but it's so creative. Like that's what I loved about it. And like a second I saw it, I was like, "That's a TIE fighter." Like there you go.
Yeah,
That's stuff for you.
and
Like,
that wasn't plasticard. That was like lids of like sliced ham that you get in a supermarket.
fantastic. That's
It's like-
amazing.
so yeah,
So much better
necessity.
than like you're going to buy like the actual plastic card, which you're using on something that's so ridiculous that you don't want to like using the cheap things are the best. And I love like
Yeah,
every time I go to like a cheap store or stuff, you see anything, but like, oh yeah, if I cut that up, like there's some basing material.
it's
Like
brilliant, isn't it?
that's fantastic. It's
I
so
can
good.
use that. This is like under a
Yeah,
dollar. Woohoo!
yeah, yeah. Best feeling ever when you see something like that.
Let's have a look at your entry, because it was super smart. And I guess you raided your bits box for this. Let me find it.
I did a little bit. I did a
There we
little bit.
go. I just missed it, didn't I? In my haste, I
Yeah,
took this picture off of Instagram as well, because it was badass, and it was like you got both of them there.
yeah. I think I sent you the picture of like the bare bones, the
The whip.
idea. Yeah, I just when I first saw the paintball challenge and I went through, I did have a slightly different vision for it because I did have a couple of empty bottles of the blood for the blood god stuff, and so I was like, oh yep. So and I've done so many corn people lately, so I was like, I've got spare corn bits. I was originally going to do that, and but then I was like, the next for the Black Templar that I was going to do, that was going to be squaring off against him. I didn't have like an empty pot of like the Black Templar contrast. I was like, oh, I didn't want the names being like so different. So then I kind of went for that, that classic black and white, like I had an empty pot of Abaddon, and that pot of Korax Light. Going back to talking about it, I love Korax Light, but that is a 99% full bottle of Korax White that is completely unusable. If you open up the lid, it is all dried out somehow. The entire
Oh,
that can be the problem with it. I still love the paint, but yeah, it has some issues. But it was such a fun idea, and originally I had legs for the Berserker, um, because those are all the bits from the Lord, um, the guy on the Juggernaut, big riding guy with the axe and stuff.
oh,
So
what a
that
figure!
two different riders. So I had a spare set of legs from that. But the funny thing with Space Marines is no kits come with spare legs, because they're all just the legs and torsos. Arms and stuff, different weapon options and stuff. So you have lots of arms. So I had no legs. So I reached out to some friends to get some legs. They're actually legs from a Terminator kit, like the old Terminator kit.
Yeah, right.
So because I had them originally, and I was like, okay, I can't do legs. Can't have one with legs, one with no legs. And so I had them both sitting there, and they were a little bit more like Dialect, like from Doctor Who.
Yep.
I like how they looked, but I was like, I think they need legs. My wife begs to differ. She says she likes them without legs, but I think the legs definitely made them look a little bit more
So I'm
like
just
they're
gonna
squaring off.
covering up the legs. I think they're better with the legs. Yeah, I put my
I
finger
needed.
across the legs. Yeah, I think the legs really helps.
I probably spent more time highlighting, especially on the Black Templar, because that's something I want to try and get better at. Is my Black Templar highlights and being a bit crisper and nicer. He's probably the one I've spent the most effort on my Black Templar highlighting and stuff.
Why
But I
not?
really
Yeah.
like it.
This is really good. So your technique for edge highlighting, then, are you using the edge of the brush, or are you painting down the actual?
When I can, yes. When I can, always, yeah, that does make it the easiest way to do it, is that. But sometimes you can't, like, obviously the inside line.
Yeah, right.
Oh. So that's just making sure you have like a nice tip on your brush, and almost some people say, like, you need to have like a really small one. Sometimes you don't. Like, it really, the size of your brush shouldn't matter if you can get a fine tip. If your brush is a bit older and or if it's frayed out, then you almost can't. But
So yeah, I haven't done. I've told you I haven't done a Space Marine for yonks, right? But I'm gonna get there this year and do one. Um, but what I've noticed with brushes is actually bigger tend to be better because
sometimes,
yeah,
I do still lean towards. I do quite love the size 1 or like a size 0 brush. They're probably my two favorite ranges. But then I sometimes look at those like the real professional painters, and all of them are using like a size, you know, between 2 and 4. Like, because they want that full body, holds more paint, so they can
hmm
paint longer and stuff. And I always look at them. I'm almost too scared to do that.
yeah.
Like,
No,
but
it's like
I think once you find the brushes you like that's the other thing. Like, once you find the ones you like, it really almost doesn't matter the brand
yeah,
or
agreed.
whatever. But in saying that, I do want to get like those artist opus ones. But that's like the consumer hobbyist. Like, oh, they're the best puns. All the
Yeah.
professionals use them. I have to get them. But
So
you know what?
in
I've
my
got some cheap brushes that I use way more often than I do than my better brushes. Like, again, as I said, I'm almost too scared to use my better brushes because I don't want them to get worn out. But then I never use them.
I know this is exactly what I had the problem I had. So I don't know if I can see that. Ro-
Rosemary, I've heard nothing but good about the Rosemary and Co
it is
brushes.
really good, but I abuse them. I got the wrong size, so look how stubby they are. So
Yeah.
they are now my stippling brushes.
And that's,
Bec-
and that's the other best thing. I have probably 2 mugs on my desk that are brushes that are borderline destroyed. Like, you wouldn't use them,
mhm.
but I still use them for certain aspects of my painting all the time. Whether it be like now a better way to move texture paste on the base of something, or you know, yeah, stippling things, or if you want to splodge something, like you don't want to use a nice brush for
Mhm.
splodging. Like, you're going to use a bit more of a damaged one. But yeah, the paint pot challenge was just fun. That was the
That was
best thing about
really good. I think these. I got these brushes for like I don't know $10 online. There's I don't know maybe 10 of them. But
it.
look at the size of that,
That's great. I
and
will say,
that holds a lot of paint, and it comes down to a fine point as well. So if I can get it in shot. Yeah, yeah.
see,
Ah, your new brushes. Yeah, how are they going?
yeah, I reached out to, this is an Australian company called the Scale Model Supply, or SMS for short. And these ones, they were nice enough to send me. They're all their synthetic range, and I've been using them just a little bit more lately because I've only really now had a good chance to open them and practice them. I love them. They come with these great tri grip, like your
Mhm.
old, like learning to write with a pencil, like
Yep.
and it just helps so much with holding it, and they're so precise. Like, you look at that tip, it's beautiful. Like, it's
Oh
tiny.
yeah.
I want it to work a bit better like that. Oh, that's maybe worse. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. It's
But
hard to get
it,
contrast. Yep.
it's so just, I'm loving them. And these, like, are pretty cheap as well. Like, I think for the entire pack range is, I don't know, no more than, I would say, $20 for, you know,
It's good.
5 or 6 brushes. Like, that's good.
That's
Like,
very good. Yeah.
but yeah, it doesn't matter what. If you find you like cheap brushes, you find cheap ones on Amazon, and once they're dead, they're cheap is the best part. Then you can just buy some new ones. Yeah. No,
I think
this was a fun project.
I think you're right. If you find something that you're comfortable with, they become like an extension of your
Mm,
fingers, and you know how the brush is going to react. You know how it's going to hold the paint. You know how to mix the paint to get the best sort of draw out of the. You know how to load them up and stuff like that. I'm still very much a novice when it comes to painting. I'm a novice at everything actually in this hobby, um, but yeah, painting is the one that's kind of eluding me. Plus. Um, the one thing that I want to crack this year, and I've been a big chicken about it, is green stuff.
mm.
28 sculpting. I the Smash Bash. I entered that with
Yeah.
the helmet crab,
Yeah.
and and I tried. Someone said use milliput and green stuff and try that. And I did, and I thought, okay, that's got some mileage. So I think if I do attempt a 28 green stuff, it will have a little bit of milliput in there to just sort of make it uh, more like the polymer clays, in that it's
Yeah.
got a
Yeah.
bit more.
I have not had a lot of experience with sculpting stuff. Like I did use in that like how they're connected with the shoulder points because I had to do some cutting and stuff, and especially on the Weld Eater, his legs. There's not an underneath shot, but it's pretty much just a chunk of green stuff underneath that they're shoved into.
Yeah, it's hard to work with, isn't it? I mean, it's all right for like some sort of utility bits, but actually when you go to sculpting, I've spoken to a few of the guys that are experts at it. Fortunately, that like you meet a few that are just like really willing to share their skills and stuff, and they say, yeah, you want to leave it a little while whilst it's like really going at the chemistry at the first hour. Don't get too carried away with that because it's all going to
Mm.
sag and droop and do like a bit after an hour. And I'm thinking,
Yeah, that's what
I,
I've heard.
what
Yeah.
I can't do is this like time crisis, because I think right, it's going to cure in like 4 hours. I'm going to be dead. I'm not going to be able to do anything with it. But
Yeah.
like
No, that's
Jonas from BQuest, he was saying, just take it in little stages. Don't try and do the whole model in 4 hours. Just do the arms, get that
yeah.
done, and then come back and maybe to the next day and do the torso or whatever. Those sorts of. Because my mentality is like, I want to just slam it and get it done, but I'm trying to slow down and work out how to do these things. So that's an
Yeah.
ambition that I've got for this year, is to try and do a credible green stuff 28 miniature. But yeah, we'll see. Well, right. So there was this competition. What else? Oh, yeah, there was this one here. Yeah, I wanted to have a
Oh
little
yeah,
chat
that was
about this.
my latest D&D mini. I did his for myself, and he was like one of the first times kind of practicing a little bit more of that OSL effect and trying to get faces to be really nice and a bit of freehand in the book as well.
Book is
Um,
brilliant. Yeah.
yeah, those symbols, I'm surprised I got them as nice as I did.
Mm.
Uh, but like, yeah, that was yeah, practice in patience, and really just knowing that you need what level of thinning to your paints you need. Like, I will find with a lot of freehand is you can't have it too runny, but you can't have it too thick. You need to get that nice, like, bit like thick milk, which is a gross concept, but like that's also you want that freehand. So like when you do put just the tip of your paintbrush, it does just smooth off. And obviously, yeah, practicing more like the highlights on the pants and stuff to be a
Mhm.
bit like subtle and stuff, not so chunky. And the jacket as well was really nice to do.
Yeah, it looks great. It's
It's
very.
actually mostly, except for the edge highlight there, it was mostly done with dry brushing
Right.
uh, to get some different tones of blue. But yeah, I love that model so much. It's one of my favorite models I've painted just for fun.
Mhm.
Like and again, it's painting D&D models is so different to painting Warhammer models because
Yeah.
you do have that flexibility to kind of do whatever you want. You don't have
And
to stick to a scheme.
it's just like this is your character as well in the D&D. So like you're adding persona, personal touches to it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, because I did have another D&D character for this campaign, but he unfortunately died to a fire giant.
Oh
And,
no.
but you know what? I did take it as an excuse to then go out and like, okay, we get to make a new character, and but the best part is I get to paint up a new character.
Is this a 3D printed model or is this
I got it. I used Eldritch Forge, Eldritch Foundry.
Yeah, I've heard of them.
Yeah, yeah. So then I got the STL file, and then I got my 3D printer guy in Adelaide to print them out. And yeah, it's great. Like that website's really fun to use because you can customize the character so much, like and how they're holding it and where they're holding it and stuff. And they add the cat to the base, which I based off my cat Biscuit.
Of course, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, and yeah, it was just fun, just a fun model.
brilliant. Is it
I,
Hero Forge that does it as well? Is
Heroes
here?
was another one.
Yeah.
That was my previous character was from there. I did kind of like this company a little bit more,
Hmm.
but just for like customizing. But Hero Forge is also very nice. Um, yeah, but I would say it's also a great just mini to paint as like a break from like doing armies and stuff. Because
Yeah,
yeah, always nice to have something of your own to work on
totally.
at the same time as doing things. Because if you are just doing army after army, you will probably go insane.
I think so. I think full marks to you, Ben, for you've just grabbed it, haven't you, and gone for it. And
Yeah,
it's been very interesting talking to you about your commission things. That was one things I was really drawn to you about was the fact that you just like sod it. I'm having a go. I'm going to get into this, and your model count is phenomenal. So I think it's inspiring. Um, Maybe there'll be a lot of people out there wondering, especially maybe the younger guys that have got more time on their hands, probably thinking, "I'd love to do that. I'd love to do that." And you've proven that you can do that. And
thank you.
yeah, I think you've just hit 1,000, haven't you, on your
Yeah,
Instagram
yeah,
followers?
you know, yeah.
Yeah,
My original idea for my Instagram was almost a bit more of a joke. It was just uh, to kind of see like, okay, let's just get as many followers as I can, and maybe GW will send me free stuff. But that was more the joke with some friends. But now it's kind of almost become a little bit more of it's just that passion spot. Like you said, I can share my art, and like I don't even care. Like if it goes up, it goes up. It's great. If it stays where it is, it's great because now it's like it's there for fun now with
hmm
just a way to share art and get others to share their own art and just
and
everyone talk about
it has opened doors, hasn't it?
Yes.
You've got some affiliate stuff going on now as well, haven't you? So it kind of is working. Games Workshop. Give it a few years, you never know.
Yeah. Who knows? Who knows? Yeah.
But
Hopefully,
what?
maybe
But
in 10 years' time this could become the full-time thing.
yeah,
Who knows?
exactly. Yeah, what a start! And like this sort of, I've been watching your profile and seeing, like you said at the beginning, some of your edge highlighting was this, that, and the other, or whatever. But now you're getting very keen on it, and you've worked out your tiering, and I think that's phenomenal. You can't underestimate what you've achieved in
Yeah.
such a short time. It's really exciting to watch, because I'm rooting for you, and
Ah, thanks,
I'm
mate.
sure a lot of others people are rooting for you, and they're like living nefariously through your profile, because you're like doing what most people would like to do, like to try, and
Yeah.
I think you're inspiring other guys to have a go, and girls obviously to have a go.
Yeah. Definitely.
Um, so yeah, awesome. I think at nearly 2 hours, probably
Oh, it seems already.
need to wrap it up. Yeah, we could go on and on.
Like, man. That's so good. Hopefully we can do this again sometime, and
Yeah, it would
hopefully
be great.
tidy up this mess behind
Oh
me.
no,
So for
don't do that. Hopefully, I'll have the next time we have a conversation, I might be, I might have my own mess I can show you. But as it is, I have to pack it all away and stuff like that. But yeah,
yeah.
it's all good. Ben, you're a top man. I thank you very much for being a guest on the show, and obviously we'll be in
Oh,
communication plenty
very
on
much, mate.
So enjoy Leviathan when you get it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That'll be a fun box to paint up. Look forward to it.
Gosh, yeah, that's gonna profile. Everyone's gonna be buzzing on that, aren't they?
Yeah, everyone. The riding the high of 10th edition.
Those Tyranid models, hey, the new ones, they're very good.
They do look cool. They do look
Yeah.
cool.
There we go. We nearly did 2 hours without saying the word Tyranid, but there we go.
Ah, not too bad.
Bless you, mate. Take care.
All right, mate. Thank you very much.
Bye bye.